Okay, here we go. Everybody say it with me. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Woo! All right, congratulations, all you winners. Thank you for your generosity.
Our land. Community.
Passion.
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 Passion. Terroir.
Love. Sunshine.
Sunshine. I can't do anything in one word. Wow.
Integrity.
Commitment.
You can't say it in a single word.
Elegance. 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 Terroir.
Our weather.
Rightness.
Great soil.
Barrel treatment. That's more than one word.
Heart.
Maybe delicious.
I am grand. How could you not be great when today we're giving away 100 bikes to kids in need in Napa Valley? $350 gets you a bike, a helmet, and a lot to donate to a child. On Monday, we're delivering all 100 bikes to the local Boys and Girls Clubs in Napa County from Calistoga all the way to American Canyon. This is the first year, and the goal is to fit along the Napa Valley Vintners goal of healthy kids, healthy valleys. So if we can get kids off of their screens and onto bikes, we're going to create a better community.
In most people's mind, the fire comes to play. The most important factor in 2017 was not really the fire. It was the heat spell we had in early September. The fire, most people were picked, 85% of grapes in Napa were picked pre-fire. So that heat spell was really kind of for me the determined factor. And you have to wait because the plant shuts down during heat spells. So it actually delays ripening. So if you had the chance to wait and you were able to pick between roughly the third week of September and before October 8th, you have an amazing vintage, but fairly tannic. So the challenge was really to soften the tannins and fill up the mid-palate. I like it. It's a little bit more 2005 driven style of vintage because we had that heat spell. So it's a fairly structured wine, but it's hard to make bad wines in Napa Valley.
Very structured vintage, ideal growing conditions for a lot of vineyards. Valley floor, we had a heat spell, so I think the good winemakers have really succeeded in this vintage. I personally really dig the wines. I've had a chance to taste a lot from fellow vintners, and I think it's a great structured vintage, layered, lots of balance in the wines. So something that is right up my alley.
I'm really happy with it. You know, as we all know, 17 was a really challenging year, a challenging vintage. But I'm proud of the wine that we made, and I'm happy with it.
There hasn't been a bad or challenging year since 2011. So just, pick one. They've all been very good. 17th, we were blessed with a lot of fruit as well. So should be good pricing out there for the direct-to-consumer folks.
It was great. Obviously, it was pretty challenging for a lot of people. We had an unusual year. We had a heat wave. We had fires. But, you separate what you can and make the best wine with what's given to you. And most of it was in the barn. And what we're pouring today, our Winston Hill, was all in the barn before those happened.
I'm really happy with the 17 vintage. For me, our wine is almost Bordeaux-like this year. It's a very nice savory characteristic, but the fruit's still shining through.
So we're showing our 2017 Cold Springs Vineyard Cabernet today. It's really an amazing wine up from Howell Mountains. So this vineyard sits at a little over 1,700 foot elevation. I absolutely love this wine. I think we all know that it was a really challenging vintage from coming off of a really, really wet year to a couple of really brutal heat spells and finishing with the fires. So there's no doubt in anybody's mind that these were challenging wines to handle. But I'm really, really excited about this wine, and I feel great about it. I think it's definitely one of the best wines we've made off the property. This is a really cool site, so the summer heat spells don't really have an enormous impact. it can handle the wet winter. The soil is like volcanic ash, so the water just runs out. And during the fires, we were really kind of sitting above the fire line for much of it. About half of these grapes sat out for about 5 days, but no smoke taint whatsoever in this wine, so we're really happy about it.
Great. We just put our 2017s in the tank. Super excited. As a matter of fact, you should stop by when you're done doing all the hoopla here and taste what we've got. You know, we had a lot of weather and fire issues in 17, and one thing I know about my vintner friends and myself is that we would never put a wine in the bottle that we wouldn't enjoy ourselves. We're awful that way when it comes to wanting to only drink great wines. But I'm really happy with them. They're very juicy, they're floral, they've got great acidity. I don't expect that the 2017s are going to cellar as long as the wines that maybe will go 30 years plus, but these are going to be easy 15-year wines. So definitely nobody should miss a 17.
The 2017s are fantastic. We of course had the fire issues at the end of the season, but for the most part we were able to make wine. We had wine in production. Most of our grapes were harvested. We didn't use anything that was still hanging at the time of the fire, and what is left is absolutely beautiful. It was really a shame to lose the little bit of fruit that we weren't able to harvest before the fire started.
Well, my personal thoughts on the 27 vintage is it's excellent vintage. I mean, our yields were off, they were lower, but that means higher quality for us in the vineyard. There's a lot of concern about smoke taint, but the majority of my friends and definitely us, we were already harvested by that time, and as the season progressed, there really wasn't that much fruit hanging out there at all, and I think it's going to turn out to be just another benchmark year.
Well, I have the 17 Sauvignon Blanc in my hand right now. It was a hot year, as you well know, and it was an early year and a fast harvest, so fortunately we had all of our grapes in before the weather events happened, and so I'm very happy with the 17s.
I think the 2017 vintage is a vintage that nobody could play with. People had to make great wine or they didn't make anything. So the wineries who are making terrific wines, those wines are coming through. We're seeing it here at the auction. We're tasting these wines. The wines are quite standard, but spectacular. I think that this is the people who really went long, did a good job of making sure their wines were well taken care of, are perfect. And these wines are glorious. You know, some people say, well, it was the fire year, but a lot of people got their grapes in before, which had nothing to do with the fire. So I think the 2017 will come down as a remarkable vintage, but not a big vintage.
We're incredibly optimistic. I mean, we're probably about 80% harvested at the point that the fire struck. So, I mean, you know, everything is pre-fire. So the quality is across the board very, very high.
There was a lot of uproar and concern about smoke taint. But when you think about it, the way that we work with barrels, it's smoke. And I'm not discerning a whole lot of smoke taint here. So that's a good thing. A lot of times the press wants to blow things out of proportion, but I think that this vintage is a whole lot better than many people have feared.
You know, we have a lot of memories in 17 in the Valley, and the memory that kind of stands out is how the community kind of banded together in a time when we were all very kind of scared for one another in the fires of that year. But if you look around and you taste around, more importantly, at events like this, to premiere earlier in the year, you find that 2017 is a vintage where we made outstanding wine. So to persevere in the face of that kind of adversity is the heart of Napa Valley.
We're in wine because the importance of wine's place in a meal. And my grandfather knew that. My grandmother was a fabulous cook. And ultimately that is why we are here. And in spite of other areas being in vogue at the time, my grandfather said Napa Valley was the place to be.